And we're back. We finally have some real life football on. Tonight was the first preseason game against the New York Giants at Ford Field. I wanted to take this opportunity just to do a quick recap, highlight some winners, highlight some losers, guys who I thought stepped up to the occasion against the Giants, and guys who I thought maybe they left quite a bit on the field there. I think we all know a few of those names. So I just want to go over, a few of those guys, what they brought to the table, what they could have done better, and what we might expect moving forward. First big loser is going to be Nate Sudfeld. It's no surprise why Dan and Brad Holmes brought in Teddy Bridgewater into this team. They need a solid backup. Nate Sudfeld wasn't it. Thank God Jared Goff stayed healthy all of last year, because if Sudfeld came in, man, I don't know what would have happened to our team. It wouldn't be the 9-8 story that we had. We wouldn't have gone into Lambeau and won. Nate Sudfeld is not that guy. In my last video, I did mention that he did lose out to Brock Purdy in San Francisco, who was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant in that 2022 draft. So Nate Sudfeld, man, you're not it. Whatever you bring in that quarterback room, whatever support you offer Jared Goff, that's great. However, it's not translating down the field. A lot of the beat writers said he was having a great camp, but it did not translate again on the field against the Giants. He had two interceptions, one just a stupid first play of the game. You throw it up and you expect something to happen. I don't know what you were thinking, but man, that was not it. He finished the game with 2 interceptions. He was 15 of 28, 45.8 quarterback rating, 194 yards, and he just did not do what we wanted him to do in that game. And actually, I thought he did a disservice to the team, because we didn't get a good look at our wide receivers. We didn't have a good running offense for that first, 40 minutes of the game. It was not good. It was not pretty. So I don't think it does a good service to everyone else that we saw out there tonight, especially those wide receivers. Not good ball placement, not running the offense as it efficiently should be. So I wouldn't be surprised. He probably doesn't make this team. He probably gets cut, goes through waivers, and he might be a practice squad guy for us. Because I do think, from everything I've heard, he does have some value in that quarterback room. But Teddy Bridgewater is going to be our backup. We might carry 3, which I don't think we will, but if we do carry 3, it'll probably be Nate Sudfeld. The next big winner is going to be the defense as a whole. Aaron Glenn has this group humming. They contributed 5 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss. From the second string, first string to the fourth string, everyone was making plays all the way across the board. Julian Aquara himself contributed 3 sacks, and Brian Branch had a nasty hit in that first quarter. Someone who the sky's going to be the limit for. And we can see, in that little film that I popped in there, that he is coming down screaming to blow up that play. So 40 time be damned. This kid can fly. He has a nose for the football. He's going to be an all-star on this defense. And I'm super pumped to see him in action once the season starts going, because I think he's going to be an instant contributor. On top of that, I think the Lions have the deepest defensive end room in the entire football league. Top down, from bottom to top, we are stacked. Whether it's the Aquara brothers, James Houston blowing up plays, coming off the edge unblocked and just hitting that quarterback as hard as he could. From top down, this defense was crushing it. Whether it was the defensive line, the linebackers flying in and making plays, or the defensive backfield getting pass breakups, everyone from top down was making plays. Even Derek Barnes had a fantastic play where he shot the gap and got in there for a tackle for a loss. It's really encouraging to see Derek Barnes take that next step as he progresses through his career. I think he's someone who, I think he starts over Jack Campbell, to be honest with you, against the Chiefs. I think it's going to be him and Anzalone. I think those are going to be your 2 linebackers, and then Campbell will slowly integrate into that defense as the season goes along. Not a knock against Campbell, but I think Derek Barnes is going to be that dude for us this year. Showed some sweet flashes against the Giants in this game, and I think he kind of starts piecing all of these things together to become a more complete player, where it's going to be hard for the Lions not to play him come Kansas City. Another player that stood out on that defense is going to be Levi Onwuzurike. Once we got to the third and the fourth quarter, I saw number 91 in there, and I just wanted to keep my eye out on him, see how he reacted, see how he played. As we recall, he had that really gnarly back injury that held him out for majority of last year. So seeing him in there taking snaps, I think it was someone that they left in there just to get, snaps in, get the feel of the game, see how he reacts, can he hold up, and I think he did a phenomenal job. He wasn't, disrupting, he wasn't making crazy plays, but he was in there and he was, consistent from snap to snap, which I think you want to see for someone who essentially just redshirted his first 2 years with that back injury, but now we can finally get him going, and that's where our, second round pick starts paying dividends. From the offensive side of the ball, man, I am super pumped about Jahmyr Gibbs. You can see the flashes, you can see the potential, and I feel like if that entire second string offensive line just played a little bit better, he might have had a little bit more bigger plays. I think it was the first time he touched the ball that there was a guy right on him in the backfield and he just had nowhere to go. And if I recall correctly, he came screaming off the edge unblocked, and not anyone. Barry back in the day couldn't get away with that. So when you see stuff like that, it's kind of tough to grade somebody, but we saw those flashes. I think he had one catch for about 18 or 19 yards, which is great to see, catching the ball outside of the backfield. And he was also shifty in the run game as well. He was able to find those holes, get through there, and I think they made it a point to run him up through the A and the B gaps just to kind of see how he handled those inside runs. We know that he can bust it outside. We know he has the speed to be elusive, get around the linebacker, get around the defensive end. But how does he handle those inside runs, those inside zone runs, right? And I think they wanted to kind of test the waters with Gibbs on that one. And I think he did, fairly well. He didn't break any loose, but he was able to get 3, 4 yards a pop there, which is good. That's what we want to see. When you need those yards, he can be called upon and he can be relied on to get those extra 1 or 2 yards that he might need. With the recent retirement of Justin Jackson, kind of out of the blue, that running back 3 spot is going to be wide open now. I don't think anyone claimed it tonight. Obviously, Craig Reynolds didn't suit up. I think he probably has the lock on it because I didn't see a whole lot from Mohamed Ibrahim. In fact, Ibrahim actually got hobbled on one of the plays. I was actually watching it and saw that he was limping, so he might have tweaked an ankle or something. Hopefully he can recover pretty quickly. The other player, Zigbo, I thought he did a pretty decent job. I wasn't aware of him. I think we signed him maybe just a few days back. He showed up. I think he did pretty good, when called upon. So maybe, good, camp body, someone that we can get on the practice squad, or maybe he's going to be one of those guys that just continue to produce as we go through preseason and, finalize training camp. So keep your eye out on him. I thought he did a pretty good job, but, I don't think anyone really separated themselves from that group today. So that's going to be another thing we want to keep our eyes on moving forward. Who's going to step up from that running back room? Who's going to claim that spot? Overall, I thought it was a pretty good game. I was really happy to see how the defense responded. It gets me super pumped this year. I feel like we have some solid depth now on the defensive side of the ball. And I think the offense, once we have all the starters in there, is going to produce. I'm all in. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid this year. Defense was going to be that final piece that was missing. And I think we kind of answered that question tonight of, do we have the players? Do we have the depth that if we lose somebody, is someone else going to be able to step up and replicate that production? I think so. With what we saw on the defensive line, the linebackers, the defensive backs, this team it's starting to look stacked from top to bottom, and that's a great thing. We don't have superstars everywhere, but we have solid depth. And come December, come January, you're going to rely on those depth players. So people who have experience, people who can produce, that's going to be the separator between a team that makes the playoffs and makes a run and a team that just falls back and can't, make it all the way there, a la Minnesota Vikings last year. So with that being said, I thought it was a great game. I thought our team did a fantastic job. Kudos to that defense. They really balled out. They played with their hearts out in their sleeves. They made plays, so really encouraging to see. And I'm super pumped for our next week upcoming with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go.